But yeah, like I was saying, back, part two of the video and everything. Yeah, man. You just can't say, a person's, the greatest fighter in the world just because they're in the UFC. Now I understand you can call them an athlete because they're doing it the right way, but there's a lot of guys out there who don't even need practice. They just have natural ability to be able to know how to fight. And they come in and make some of these guys who's been in these sports for all these years. They come in the sport and just make them look bad, like a John Jones, for instance. Even though John Jones did compete in wrestling throughout high school and all of that and whatever, you know what I'm saying? But he's a very young guy. He doesn't have that much experience in MMA. He has a great deal of experience in wrestling, but he comes in MMA and he makes these guys who are supposedly be, these great fighters, and he's making quick work out of them. He's beating the fuck out of them. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not even saying that John Jones is the best fighter. I'm not saying that, because I believe he needs a lot of work as well. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of these guys are overhyped. They're just overhyped. Period. And you being you go and believe Joe Rogan just because he's saying, oh, he got the best wrestling in MMA. You go and believe because Dana White say, bottom line, GSP is the pound for pound best fighter to ever step in the octagon. You go and believe him when he says that. You know what I'm saying? He says it about every fighter. Anderson Silva, Brock Lesnar, George St. Pierre. He says it about everybody. You know what I'm saying? You go and believe that just because these guys have a stack of wins. George St. Pierre, I understand he's beat almost everybody. I'm not going to even say almost everybody in the welterweight division because there's a few guys, they won't even let them fight that much and let them fight that often. They're on the welterweight roster just sitting, they fight every so often. Those are a couple of guys right there to give George St. Pierre a run for his money. You see what I'm saying? That's just basically what it is. You know what I'm saying? But George St. Pierre, he's a good striker. I'm not going to say he's a great striker. Not a goddamn chance. I'm going to say he's a great wrestler for welterweight division, and that is it. Him moving up to 185, I honestly think that's a bad idea. I just think those guys are just they think too much for him. Yeah, he may get a few measly takedowns here and there. He ain't finna submit none of them. He couldn't even submit Dan Hardy, somebody with his ground game is garbage. And you know what? I just want to say big ups to Dan Hardy. I'm a Dan Hardy fan. But do I think Dan Hardy is the best? Not a goddamn chance. See, that's what you call being real. See, I'm not out of touch with reality. Just because Dan Hardy is one of my favorite fighters to watch, you don't see me going, oh, Dan Hardy can kick Anderson Silva's ass or he can kick George St. Pierre's ass. Hell no, I'm not that stupid. I don't believe that. But Dan Hardy, I like the guy. You know what I'm saying? He got potential. You know what I'm saying? Let's just see where he goes. But as of right now, his ground game sucks. You know what I'm saying? But all I'm saying is, look, George St. Pierre, got a lot of respect for him. I like him. Think he's a great fighter. Think he's a good champion. But me personally, I'm getting tired of his boring ass style. Don't come to me and tell him he's got some of the greatest ground and pound in the game. Who the hell has George St. Pierre ground and pound besides Sean Shirk, a small ass dude who shouldn't even been, just fighting in welterweight. He goes down, to lightweight. He beat a lot of bums to get the belt. Then he can't even hold his belt. When he fights, a legitimate guy, like BJ Penn. Even though BJ Penn, I think he's too small for the welterweight division too. Even though he performs well there, George St. Pierre, yeah, he kicked his ass. But that being said, George St. Pierre was even scared to stand up. He was even scared to stand up with BJ Penn. This guy, he's a. Come on, man. You're going to sit up here and tell me a guy like this has a chance in beating Anderson Silva? Anderson Silva, I mean, come on, man. Come on. You gotta think about this shit. What is he going to do to Anderson Silva to make Anderson Silva give up? He gonna ground and pound him to death? You honestly believe in that head of yours? Do you really think George St. Pierre can ground and pound you can honestly think that George St. Pierre can ground and pound Anderson Silva into submission? You think that can happen? You think he can knock him out? You think he can submit him? You think he can beat him up? Period. You honestly believe that because all his hype has been, just created about him being such a, just the most dominant wrestler ever. Some of you guys even are so naive to think he can compete in the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Don't lose your head. Don't lose your minds out here. Get your mind right out here, man. What's wrong with y'all, man? You know what I'm saying? You gotta understand, man. Now I understand you want to support a guy, you rooting for him, say, yeah, I like George St. Pierre. I'm rooting for him to kick Anderson Silva's ass because I don't like Anderson Silva. Now I can understand that, but just saying that, oh, Chael Sonnen's gonna expose Anderson Silva to, and then it's gonna just show what George St. Pierre would have done to him. Man, just good luck with that. That's all I can tell you. Good luck with that. Anderson Silva may be a bit hyped in a little bit of a way, but I can honestly tell you that even if the guys Anderson Silva fought were not as big and bad as a lot of people thought they were, and a lot of people that he beat, it doesn't matter if they were that good or not. The way he beat them, just in just punishing fashion. I haven't really seen George St. Pierre destroy anybody except for Matt Hughes. He couldn't even finish John Fitch. Yeah, John Fitch is a tough guy, but you mark my word. These guys are not as tough as they may seem that George St. Pierre has been fighting here. They're not that tough. They're not that big. They're not that bad. I can promise you that. I can promise you. You can sit up here and think just because they beat certain guys, John Fitch beat Diego Sanchez. We all see Diego Sanchez. Diego Sanchez is a tough guy, but he's just a scrappy fighter. There's really not a lot of skill there. Though yes, he does have some skill, but he's not great at anything. He's just like BJ said, he's an overachiever. He got far where he needed to go because he works hard and he fights hard. Other than that, you seen he lost to John Fitch. He lost to Josh Koscheck, and some good fighters. George St. Pierre obviously beat Josh Koscheck. He barely beat him. He couldn't finish John Fitch. It took him like 4 rounds to finish BJ Penn in the second fight. He beat Matt Hughes, a guy whose stand-up is shit. I mean, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? What do you guys... You honestly think that George St. Pierre is the best? I just hope one day, man, that the UFC stop politicking shit and they honestly throw him in with the Wolves. Throw him in with somebody like Mark Hart. Even though they're on the same team, you may be like, think, oh, Chael Sonnen destroyed Mark Hart. I got news for it. George St. Pierre is not half the wrestler Chael Sonnen is. Period. And then whoever thinks that is a complete dumbass. That's all I gotta tell you. And I know you guys, man, you hate to hear me talk about your hero like this, man, but thinking outside of the box, guys. George St. Pierre, you might find this hard to believe, but George St. Pierre is actually one of my favorite MMA fighters. I just don't like a lot of bullshit surrounding a lot of people. I don't like bullshit surrounding fighters. Like Brock Lesnar. I don't have a fucking problem with Brock Lesnar. I think he's a cool guy. I don't give a damn how many people think he's a prick. He's an arrogant asshole. I like Brock Lesnar. But that being said, Brock Lesnar is far from the greatest heavyweight in MMA history, or of all time, or even right now. I think Overeem would beat the fuck out of him. Period. I don't give a damn if Overeem got knocked out by Chuck Liddell. That was years ago. I don't care if he got knocked out by Shogun and he got his ass. Well, I don't give a fuck who he got beat by. They can't beat his ass now. You know what I'm saying? You guys are going to see, man, if they ever make this fight happen, man, you guys are going to be so disappointed. So fucking disappointed. So disappointed. All you fucking GSP lovers out there, all you nut huggers, man, you guys are going to be so goddamn disappointed. Did I think that Dan Hardy had a chance in beating George St. Pierre? Not a fucking chance. But it's interesting, Dana White knew that Dan Hardy couldn't beat George St. Pierre. He just did it just so he can get a lot of buzz against this guy from the UK, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to build up this big, this big following in the UK, in which he has and he's done, but he's trying to get it bigger and bigger, just like he creates all this hype around Michael Bisping. But some guys are not, they suck so bad you can't even hype them. You see what I'm saying? Michael Bisping sucks so goddamn bad, you can't even overhype him. He can't live up to the hype. He can't even beat mediocre guys decisively. At least George St. Pierre can go in and fight these guys who are not that good, and he can kick their asses. You know what I'm saying?